long as most of us can remember, really, when we've talked about autism, we've used the word spectrum.
Right.
It's been this idea of a continuous range, a broad category capturing incredible diversity. But what if that widely accepted idea, I mean, while it's incredibly helpful, what if it doesn't actually tell the whole story?
Hmm.
What if autism isn't just one thing with varying degrees, but is actually, well, many distinct conditions, each with its own kind of unique biological fingerprint?
That's a really provocative idea.
It is, and it's the powerful question we're diving into today. There's groundbreaking new research from Princeton University and the Simons Foundation, just published in Nature Genetics.
Yeah, it's making waves.
It really is. It's fundamentally shifting our understanding. They're proposing a move away from that single broad spectrum towards something more precise, biologically based, what they're calling multiple autism.
Multiple autisms. It sounds different already.
It does. So our goal for you, the listener, is to unpack this monumental shift. We'll explore what it means for diagnosis, for treatment, and just our broader understanding of neurodevelopmental conditions. We'll be drawing insights from the core research itself and also some recent coverage in places like the Week US, New York Post, and Tech News.
Sounds great.
Okay, so let's unpack this. For decades, autism spectrum disorder, ASD, it's been defined by just this enormous clinical diversity.
Right. Huge variation.
And while the spectrum concept, it helped us describe the severity of symptoms, it always kind of struggled, didn't it? Struggled to capture the fundamental biological differences between individuals.
Absolutely. And that often led to, well, a lot of uncertainty in diagnosis, in prognosis, and especially in figuring out the most effective treatment strategies. It was tricky.
Exactly.
And that's precisely where this Princeton study, led by Professor Olga Troyanskaya, comes in. They're making a strong case that instead of one continuous spectrum, the evidence points to autism being comprised of at least 4 clinically and biologically distinct subtypes.
4 subtypes, okay.
Yeah, and this directly challenges the current DSM-5, that's the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, which groups all autism diagnoses into that single ASD category.
So it's saying that category is maybe too simple?
It suggests the spectrum is actually made up of, well, at least 4 discrete, non-random clusters, and each seems to have unique genetic markers and developmental trajectories.
That's a really profound shift in perspective. So how did they even manage that?
Oh, yeah.
How do you untangle something so complex when it often just looks like a swirl of different symptoms?
Well, that's where the tech comes in. A sophisticated machine learning model was really key here.
Okay.
The researchers integrated, get this, over 230 clinical features.
Wow.
Everything from social interaction, repetitive behaviors, emotional issues, developmental delays, along with detailed genetic data from more than 5,000 children with autism.
5,000, that's a large cohort.
It is. And this person-centered approach, as Avia Littman, one of the lead authors, described it, it allowed the model to find natural patterns, combinations of symptoms, rather than focusing just on single traits or trying to force people into boxes we already had.
So it let the data speak for itself, in a way.
Exactly. Professor Troyanskaya used a great analogy.
Yeah.
It's like trying to put together a picture when several different puzzles are all mixed up in the same box.
Ah, okay.
The machine learning acts like a classifier, sorting the pieces into their correct boxes, revealing these distinct patterns, these separate puzzles.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so with this new lens, let's meet these categories. Let's get to know these 4 distinct subtypes. What's the first one they identified?
So the largest group, making about 37% of the cases in their study, is what they've termed the social and behavioral challenges type.
Okay, social and behavioral challenges.
Right. These are typically children who have pretty normal language development and walking abilities, but they show those classic social difficulties and repetitive behaviors we often associate with autism.
Got it.
What's also quite notable is they frequently have co-occurring conditions, things like ADHD, anxiety, depression, or maybe OCD.
So a lot of overlap there, potentially.
Yes. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, the genetics, their unique genetic variations seem to primarily affect genes that activate later in childhood.
Oh, interesting.
Which kind of aligns with why these individuals are often diagnosed a bit older. The relevant genes switch on later.
That makes sense. So later diagnosis, potentially, and the intervention might focus heavily on, say, cognitive behavioral therapy for social skills, behavior regulation, plus managing those co-occurring mental health challenges.
Precisely. Psychological or medication support for those might be key too.
Okay. Makes sense. What's the next distinct pattern that emerged?
Next up, accounting for about 19% of the participants is the mixed ASD with developmental delay type.
Mixed ASD with developmental delay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Children in this group show pretty significant delays in hitting those early developmental milestones, especially walking and talking.
So noticeable early on.
Very noticeable early on. But interestingly, they tend to have fewer emotional or behavioral problems like anxiety or disruptive behaviors compared to that first group.
Huh. Fewer behavioral issues despite the delays.
Yeah, the mixed aspect seems to refer to sort of inconsistent social difficulties or repetitive behaviors. It's not as clear-cut, perhaps.
I see.
And genetically, this subtype is often linked to rare inherited genetic variants, but also unique de novo mutations.
De novo. Those are the new ones, right? Not passed down.
Exactly, new mutations that aren't inherited from the parents. And these mutations seem to impact genes active during prenatal brain development very early on.
Wow, okay. That connection to prenatal development is fascinating. So for these kids, early intervention for those specific developmental delays, language, motor skills that would be absolutely critical, wouldn't it? Paramount. Intensive language therapy, occupational therapy, with really close monitoring of those developmental gaps, that would likely be the most beneficial approach.
Right. Okay, moving on. Group number 3.
Our third subtype is the moderate challenges type. This one covers roughly 34% of the cases in the study.
Moderate challenges.
Good.
Okay, a sizable group.
Yes. And it's generally considered a milder group in terms of symptom intensity. They do show core autism-related behaviors, but less intensely than some of the other groups.
Mm-hmm.
And importantly, most of their developmental milestones are met on time.
Okay, so different from the last group.
Very different. And another key distinction, they rarely have co-occurring psychiatric conditions, setting them apart from that first social and behavioral challenges type we discussed.
Interesting. So fewer co-occurring issues, milestones generally on time. What about the genetics?
Their genetic risk is described as moderate, and it seems to come primarily from inherited variants, affecting what the researchers call non-core genes.
Okay, so less intense presentation, fewer complications. That suggests maybe a different kind of support strategy.
Exactly. Treatment here might focus primarily on things like language and social skills training, perhaps integrated more into school settings or group social support, rather than needing the really intensive one-on-one interventions seen in other types.
Makes sense. All right, and the fourth and final subtype.
And finally, we have the broadly affected type. This is the smallest group, making up about 10%.
Just 10%.
Yes, but it's also described as the most severe and complex subtype. These children face really extensive challenges across multiple areas. We're talking significant developmental delays, severe social and communication impairments, and quite prominent repetitive behaviors.
So challenges across the board.
Pretty much. And they also have a high incidence of those co-occurring conditions: anxiety, depression, mood dysregulation, similar to the first group, but perhaps even more pronounced alongside the developmental issues.
That sounds like a particularly challenging presentation for the children and for their families.
It certainly is. And their genetic profile is really striking. They carry the highest proportion of those de novo mutations.
The spontaneous, non-inherited ones again?
Exactly. And these often occur in what are considered core genes, critical for very early neurodevelopment. This strongly suggests some fundamental disruptions during early embryonic brain formation.
That's profound.
It is. And clinically, as you might expect, these children require the earliest and most comprehensive, intensive interventions. We're talking a full, multidisciplinary team language, occupational therapy, behavioral support, mental health support, all working together from very early on.
Okay, so these 4 distinct pictures are emerging. This isn't just about, tweaking scientific definitions in a journal, is it? What does this new understanding actually mean for people, for families, for the whole world of autism care?
Yeah, this is where it gets really practical. It signifies potentially a radical shift toward precision medicine in autism.
Precision. Okay, how so?
Well, take diagnosis. It could move beyond just behavioral observation, which can be subjective, towards something far more biologically meaningful, and potentially earlier.
Earlier diagnosis is huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As Dr. Jennifer Fosfig, one of the co-authors, pointed out, this kind of subtyping could tell families something more about what symptoms they might or might not experience.
Managing expectations.
Exactly. What to look out for over the course of a lifespan, which treatments to pursue, and how to plan for their future. It offers families much greater clarity, potentially, and a better handle on their child's unique developmental path.
That alone sounds like a massive step forward for families navigating what can be a really confusing journey.
Definitely.
But what about treatment itself? Does this mean the era of sort of one-size-fits-all therapy for autism is really ending?
That's the hope and the implication. Clinicians could potentially tailor interventions based on the specific subtype, predicting developmental paths more accurately and adjusting strategies accordingly. We saw those examples. The broadly affected type needing that comprehensive early intervention, while the moderate challenges type might focus more on language and social skills in less intensive settings. This allows for truly customized support. It moves us away from just applying broad, generic approaches to everyone labeled ASD.
That makes so much sense. And what about drug development? That's historically been such a challenge in autism research, hasn't it? So many trials haven't shown clear results.
It really has been a bottleneck. And this is one of the most exciting potential applications, I think. A major reason for past drug trial failures was the sheer heterogeneity, the diversity of the participant groups. You had people with vastly different underlying biology all in the same trial.
Like testing a heart medication on people with lung problems, too.
Kind of, yeah. It muddies the waters.
Yeah?
But this new framework allows for what's called stratified design in clinical trials.
Stratified design, meaning?
Instead of lumping all individuals with an ASD diagnosis together, researchers can now recruit participants from a specific, biologically more homogeneous subtype.
Ah, I see.
So, for instance, they could design a trial targeting only broadly affected individuals if they have a drug hypothesized to work on pathways affected by those specific de novo mutations common in that group.
Okay, testing the right key on the right lock.
Precisely. This level of precision means you can test drug efficacy far more effectively. It could significantly boost the success rates for developing new targeted treatments. It's a potential game changer for pharmaceutical research in this area.
That's a huge potential breakthrough. This kind of machine learning, this person-centered approach, it seems incredibly powerful. Is it something that could only work for autism?
Not at all. That's another really important point. The researchers themselves believe this analytical approach isn't limited to autism.
Okay.
It could potentially be applied to other complex heterogeneous conditions. Think about things like ADHD, bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, conditions where there's also a huge range of presentations and likely diverse underlying biology.
So a similar methodology could help untangle those conditions too.
That's the idea. As Dr. Chandra Theeksveld, another team member, put it, we not only paint a more complete picture of autism, but also open up entirely new roads for understanding the complexity of the human brain.
Wow.
You can even imagine down the line, maybe electronic health record plugins that use this kind of analysis to suggest subtype-specific diagnoses or recommend tailored interventions in real time for clinicians.
That's potentially revolutionary for how we approach many complex brain-based conditions.
It really could be. And beyond the clinic, just think about public understanding. This research helps break down that single, often stereotyped image of autism. It reveals its rich diversity,
Yeah.
which hopefully promotes greater societal understanding and acceptance. Natalie Sauerwald, another co-lead author, highlighted how just understanding their child's specific subtype can give families greater clarity and open the door to more personalized care, support, and connection.
More knowledge, less fear, maybe more targeted support.
Exactly.
Okay, but like any major scientific step forward, this research isn't the final word, right? It comes with its own set of questions, limitations. What are the key things we need to keep in mind as we look at this?
You're absolutely right. No single study answers everything. First, the age range. The study primarily focused on children and adolescents aged 4 to 18.
Okay.
We definitely need more research to understand how these subtypes manifest, how they evolve in adulthood. Do they remain stable? Do they change? We don't know yet.
Right. Autism is lifelong.
Exactly. Second, the data sources. A lot of the clinical data relied on parent reports, which are valuable, but future studies should ideally integrate more objective, clinician-assessed data as well, just for validation and maybe capturing different nuances.
Good point. What else?
Third, population diversity. The current sample, like many large genetic studies, largely consists of individuals of Euro-American ancestry, often from higher income backgrounds who can access these research centers.
Ah, okay. So generalizability is the question.
It is. Validation across more diverse global populations is absolutely essential to make sure these findings hold true for everyone.
Definitely.
And, importantly, the researchers themselves are very clear. 4 subtypes are likely just a starting point. As more data accumulates, as analysis methods get even more refined, we'll probably discover more subtypes, or maybe refine the boundaries of these 4.
So it's an evolving picture.
It's an evolving picture. And finally, whenever you deal with the genetic data and detailed clinical information, there are ethical considerations. Things like ensuring informed consent, protecting privacy, data de-identification, those are always paramount.
Crucial points. So it sounds like there's still a lot to explore, a lot to validate, but the foundation laid here is incredibly strong. What's next on the immediate horizon for this line of research?
Well, the logical next steps include those crucial longitudinal studies tracking individuals within these subtypes over their lifetime to see how things change.
Following them through adulthood.
Yes. Also integrating other types of biological data, things like neuroimaging, MRI, fMRI scans to look at brain structure and function, and maybe proteomics, which is the large-scale study of proteins. Adding those layers could give an even richer, more comprehensive picture of each subtype.
Building a multidimensional understanding.
Exactly. And of course, applying this powerful analytical framework, this machine learning approach, to a wider range of neurodevelopmental and psychiatric disorders hold immense promise for understanding brain diversity more broadly.
This has been fascinating. This deep dive has really shown us that our understanding of autism is, well, it's undergoing a potentially profound transformation.
It really feels like it.
Moving beyond that singular idea of a spectrum, we're now gaining, or starting to gain, a clearer, more biologically driven map of what it means to be autistic. It feels like a definite move toward precision.
Towards personalization.
Yes, personalization. Offering genuine hope, I think, for more targeted support, more effective interventions down the line. As Professor Troyanskaya put it so well, this research no longer tries to explain all autism by a single mechanism, but embraces its diversity, dissecting the underlying genetic mechanisms one by one.
The really nice summary of the shift.
It is. So, turning it back to you, the listener, what stands out to you about this? How might this new understanding of multiple autisms change lives? Not just for individuals with autism and their families, but maybe for how we approach complex human conditions in general. Something to think about.